in today's scenario when we have so much of edutech companies giving us so much of material, online certification course and gamification and everything. I think the child is not bored at all because this is beyond textbooks, classes and everything, beyond the traditional methods of teaching only through the textbooks. Now the child is quite energized because the child is given so much of digital resources to for the engagement. And I believe if this blended process goes on, wherein we are able to retain the child's engagement through all this process, I believe it can bring a massive change among the studies also, and in keeping the engagement of all the children. So I believe this was a lovely presentation. Congratulations, Dr. Lika, for giving your time and for your great words over here. So with this, let me go further and introduce our another great esteemed guest speaker, who is none other than Dr. Andres Alberto. So Mr. Andres has been working as an EFL teacher for more than 10 years in different Ecuadorian high schools, language centers, and universities. Besides this, he has participated in an international TESOL course in the Kansas State University in 2013. Also, he has participated in an English teacher training TESOL methodology course awarded by the American Embassy in 2019. And there is enough which I have to speak, but with keeping in the time constraints, I would request him to rather come on the screen and give his beautiful presentation, because the audience and the participants are just waiting to listen from the great guest speaker. So over to Dr. Edris. You may please begin.
Morning, good afternoon, hello, how are you doing? Andres Rodriguez is my name, thank you so much. I'm from Ecuador. Well, today is a special day about education. So the festival that we are celebrating with this wonderful organization. So for me, it's a pleasure to share with you, and also the most important is that we exchange many ideas, perspective, and we can learn from each other. Thank you so much, Dr. Shelley. Thank you for being part of this wonderful group of educating network of educators. Now, okay, so I want to introduce a little bit more about how the education changes in this time. Um, from the moment that COVID-19, the pandemic, changes the world in different ways. So many people, students, educators, family representative, they ask many questions. So we have more questions than answers. So that's true. So one of the questions that we can make and we expect that the future will consider is that how will the how will we be educated? Will schools be open, or people will return to class, and how will be studying now? So there are many ways that we can study. So distant learning, blended learning, schooling, or when people go back to school. So so those are more questions that we can ask. But let me tell you that there are some factors or ideas that we can share in order to explain how the education will constantly change. And the first idea is about to build up a big global citizen community awareness. So in terms of leadership and communication, okay, learners, and learners and non-learners, because we are not talking about the school, we're talking about people in general. The internet allow people to see the world in different way, to connect synchronically, asynchronically, and what is happening around the world. So we learn more from the news that they are presented in the internet rather than the the traditional medias from TV or radio that we commonly used to watch or hear. But now, how can the global citizen awareness um, can support um, the leadership and the local people that they want to support their communities, or they can visit around the world. So uh, we need to be well informed, and we also have to be educated with international values, and think about the world is as one. So the same thing that happened in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, or in Ecuador, in another part of the world, we have the same problems. We are challenging. We have some things that we can work together in order to um, solve these situations. So that's the idea. That we have to see the world as one, and education is part of the of that issue. In order to solve. So education is not isolated. Education is part of the cultural awareness that we have to um, develop this global citizen awareness. So on second place, we will mention the post-pandemic tools for education. So in this moment, I'm going to share with you one of the slides, please, and I will explain you something. Um, okay, sorry, give me a second, please. Okay, yeah. The intention of the post-pandemic is not talking about only resources, methodology, coming back to school. No, so the idea is that we educators and also students and all the people who belong to the community, to the educational community, be a better version of ourselves. So the things we learn from the past, the circumstances that affected us, and also we can bring this. Okay, for example, many people ask when to return to school. Others don't want to return to school for any reason. No, the sanitary, the healthy situation. They stop studying at home. There are some circumstances in the poorest area of the world that people want to stay home and the internet connection are difficult. No? So I want to share this quote. This is about um, everyone who remembers his own education remember remembers teachers, not methods and techniques. The teacher is the heart of the education system. So this quote by Sidney Hook. Okay, um, I'm pointing out the way how the global citizens, okay, our awareness, okay, can be figured out with the norms, the values, and the thing as citizens, we can feel the education, and we can support, in a more humanistic way, with values, more to be more empathetic with our students. So through the time, we remember, for example, our old teachers that we had when we were studying at school. So the same thing will happen with our student. So the current students, they will remember us. No, so no for the knowledge or the things that we transmit. Just it's just for the action we took in that moment, for the solidarity, for the love we brought the compassion and the things we share with them. So this is the idea of talking about the um, this education. Okay, so on third place, we are talking about the sustainable development. Now, in education, the sustainable development are we are not talking about only online resources, equipment, building, schools. No, so we are talking about intangible things, no, intangible things, no, things that will keep and endure through the time. No, so what I mentioned before is that many things can transform education. Okay, so the same problems or the same thing that we took from different countries, those are the inquiries that we can perform. We can do research in order to solve these situations. So the sustainable development brings um, these things, that we can keep enduring for the time. So we will see good result. We will see good results when we see our students when they graduate or they post graduate, or when they are people who become part of the community, or they can give their best in order to solve the problem. So that's the idea, no? That we can make people that they have a cultural citizen awareness, and also they use the technology in favor of solving problems. So that's the post education, the post modern education that we need to uh, that we expect that it happen. No, okay. So finally, the last component that I want to share with you is the leadership in education. You know? So, and the leadership are not only the directives or the authorities. So everybody, in terms of communication, we can follow, we can take action as leaders. We educators in our part, in our role, we are working on leadership, no? Because many people they are observing us, they are following us, and they take decisions. Sometimes they take decisions when we observe, okay, the teacher is a role model, the teacher does this, the teacher, okay, is talking about this. So it's more that it's more our actions than that's rather than the words we say. So that's very wise, no, in the way that we act, you know. So in brief, so if we are constantly um, um, following, okay, some procedures for professional development, we create a big team of um, global citizen communities of people, educators, learners, okay, with values, with norms to support, okay, and it endures for the time with sustainable development, and also with a guidance, with an effective guidance, or a disruptive leadership. Now, the disruptive leadership are the leaders, okay, that sometimes we feel like they're crazy, but they took action, and they take quick decisions in order to make the things happen. Now. So those are the leaders that we need in education. Thank you so much, Dr. Shelley, Dr. Mohammed, the founder of this organization, for the opportunity to share with you and bring up this community and learn from you. Thank you.
Very, very, very warm presentation and nicely brought up. You started with constant, anxieties and queries which were developed during COVID-19, 2019, from 19 to 20 to 21, and this is the start of 2022. But I think, the problems, the things, it is still persist. But the best thing which I loved in your presentation was the slide which you brought forth, and that was this: whatever happens, but then teachers ultimately, they are the heart of the education network. And that is true, because we all are educators over here, and we believe it. And I have a small example to share in front of you. Like on 22nd January, I celebrated my birthday, but it was more than a moment when, 20 years back, the children whom I taught, they wished me from all across the globe. They are now doctors, engineers, IAS, and whatever countries they are working. But then they remembered the teacher of theirs, and it was indeed a great thing. And that is what, the slide was so heart touching. And of course, the teachers, the educator, they are indeed the heart and soul of our education system. So I second you, Dr. Andres, for the beautiful presentation. And yes, you talked about certain other good things also, that together, if we collaborate, then and then only we can bring the change in the education network. And I believe if all of us have this positive outlook, then and then only we can combat on this. And yes, we don't know when the COVID ends, or whether it will be ending or not. But yes, if the positive approach is there, if we all are united, you know god knows COVID will not defeat us, but we definitely will be defeating the COVID. So, congratulations once again for the lovely presentation of yours. And with this, now I invite another great guest speaker of ours.
Thank you.
And I am really honored and thrilled to introduce him to you, because I also had a great connect with him. So, I'm referring to none